Okay, Assalamu alaikum. So inshallah, today's presentation is actually divided into three sections, as you see in front of you. The first section is the Canadian market, and we'll also look into what are the different, Islamic options available by different companies at the moment. We may not go into detail of those models, but definitely we'll talk about who the key players are. And that will be inshallah presented by brother Asim. And then we'll move on to the housing decision, which is usually a very critical decision. So there are key factors that are going to be touched by brother Suleiman, buy versus rent. And also he will talk about some of the basic principles that we see in, in the current investment versus what Islamic guidelines on that. And then inshallah, we'll conclude with this session, which is very critical for this overall decision and also where we live. And Dr. Fawad is going to cover, inshallah, the Islamic perspective and the guidelines that Islam suggests us. So with this, inshallah, let me proceed, and I'll ask Brother Asim to start with the very first section, which is Canadian market and Islamic housing financial options. Over to you, Brother Asim. Feel free to unmute, and also if you want to share your video, that's great.
Jazakallah, that was a good reminder. Jazakallah, Brother Irfan, and Assalamu alaikum, everyone. Just to kind of introduce myself quickly, I have graduated from University of Ottawa with a degree in computer engineering and business management. I am currently a IT consultant. I've worked with many different local banks and government agencies in my past. So I will be covering the Canadian housing market and the outlook for you during this presentation. So inshallah, hopefully you'll benefit from this part of the presentation. So next page. All right, so the first part that I want to cover in this presentation, at least in my section, is that I think one of the hottest topic that you probably hear in all the conversations these days is, the Canadian housing market, whether it's the news or you're having discussions with your family or friends. This topic cannot be avoided. It's everywhere. Canadian housing market is just going through the roof. The house prices are increasing every day, every month. There's a new study in terms of what is the new percentage, how high the houses are going in terms of prices, and there's definitely a crisis type situation going on with the Canadian housing market. So what I want to cover with you today is I want to try to sort of get into the details of why that is the case, to explain to you why we are in this situation and what are some of the root causes of this situation. So one of the things that we're noticing is that, and you've heard a lot of this stuff from the news as well. So hopefully we can share information that you haven't heard in the news. But essentially we have a lack of supply. And of course, when you have lack of supply, with any commodity, it's the oldest principle of business. Where you have less supply, you'll have the prices will go higher because of the demand, if the demand is high. So that's what we're seeing right now in Ontario and Alberta and other provinces, that we have less houses than the people that need the houses. So we do not have enough houses to sell to people that have the money or are willing to buy the houses. So we have a shortage of about 650,000 houses in Ontario. That's a report that was shared in the news many times over, and you've probably seen it. And that number is changing very quickly, of course. But 650,000 houses that need to be built in order for us to suffice the current demand in Ontario. And Alberta is basically sort of lagging behind a little bit, but it's still has a shortage of houses. And if you can see in the chart on the right-hand side, what we are showing is, and this is a chart that's been displayed in the news a couple of times already, so you might have already seen it. But this is basically showing you the G7 average. So any G7 country, the average houses that you would have per capita, we are way below average. So you can see the orange line where you have the Canadian average, and we are below the Canadian average as well. So not just the G7 average, Ontario is below the Canadian average, and Alberta and Ontario are the two that are sort of sticking out in that chart. So you can see that Alberta and Canada, these are the two markets that are primarily affected by this shortage, and this is why Ontario and Alberta prices are definitely going higher, and we definitely have a higher demand for houses that need to be either built or somehow provide dwellings to the people that are looking for residences. So next.
Sure, people can't see you. They're saying your camera is on. So you
My
see yeah, if you can turn on your camera, that's great. Otherwise, it's up to you.
My camera is on.
Okay. I'm just getting a chat message that people can't see you.
Yeah, I mean, it's on the next screen. I see him, so
okay.
I can see him too.
Okay.
Yeah, maybe
awesome.
you have to max it. Yeah, maybe you have to.
All right. Yeah, the question came. I thought I'll just ask.
Sure. Yeah, no,
Please
absolutely.
continue.
And feel free to post your questions in the chat, please. Everyone that has been just joining, just post your messages, and if you have any questions, we can probably hold it till the end of this section, and then I'll take any questions verbally. One of the other aspect of this sort of crisis situation that we're talking about is the increase in the average sale price of a house. The average sale price of a house is up 10% in Toronto, as you can see in the chart below. Ottawa 15%, Calgary 7%, Montreal 9%. These are huge averages. Year over year, this is a huge average. General rule of thumb is about 2.5% to maybe maximum 5%. If your average is actually doubling, you can only imagine what is going on in the market, because this is an average that takes in account not just very, very expensive houses, but it actually takes in account very cheaper houses. So it's all kinds of dwellings. It's condos, semis, townhomes, and the luxury high-end, mansions. So it's definitely very spread out. But this number 10% is a huge number in comparison, and that is what we're trying to show here. And if you look at the graph on the right-hand side, it basically gives you a comparison between all the way from 2015 to 2022. In 2015, approximately 7 years ago, the average price was about $465,000 of a house. Now we're looking at about double. So anyone that might have bought a house in 2015, you've doubled in price. So that's basically, if you just look at the ratios. And this is a problem, and it is causing a slight crisis situation, because the salaries have not gone up, the incomes have not gone up. We haven't had any specific tax benefits that are helping us cope with the inflation, let alone improving our lifestyle. So this is a little bit of a problem. So next slide. All right, so in this slide, I'll cover off some of the issues that are resulting from overall market price increases, and some of the issues that you might have seen in experience as well, if you're looking for a property or you've been looking into the market. So next point. So what we can see here is that we have 30% increase in the housing prices in the last 2 years, and that's basically going back to the previous slide and the numbers that I was talking about. And here you can see that there's $200 billion being added to the housing market in 2021. One of the questions here is, where does this money come from? Next. And again, we'll delve into that question soon. Where does this money come from? But essentially, 100% increase in investor portfolio with the banks into 2021. So if you were an investor last year, or within a year or two, you've doubled your portfolio. Either by just sitting on a property that you bought in 2015, or you can buy more properties now because interest rates is so low. Second largest housing balloon in the world after New Zealand. So Canada right now is being rated as the second largest housing balloon in the world. As you probably heard some people saying, I think maybe it's been about 5 to 6 years I've been hearing that there's a big balloon in Canadian market, and the bubble might burst, or something might happen. Nothing's happened yet, but it's definitely considered a balloon, the situation that we're in, and there's no doubt about it. And of course, New Zealand, if you know anything about that country, they definitely have something similar going on as well. There's been a decline in the business income, salary income, and the overall GDP. So I previously mentioned that there hasn't been any increase, but what we've seen is there's actually a decline in business incomes. So people have lost business incomes, the salary incomes, and the GDP that we're looking at today in Canada is primarily, decline. It's showing a decline. So how is all that going to, affect us? So these are some of the issues that we're covering up. So next point. Foreign investors bought multiple properties, seeing the market demand. So this is another one of the points that you might have heard. There's a tremendous push for the investors to get into the Canadian market, because right now, at least, Canadian market is approachable. It's easy to get into. There's no specific requirements for you. If you're a foreign national, you're not even a Canadian national, you have some money, there's no reason why you can't buy a house in Canada. The prices in Canada have been going up since 2015, maybe even earlier than that. The trend is always up. There hasn't been any serious correction at all. So it's a great market for an investor to get into. Investors from China have been buying a lot of properties in Canada and other countries. So that drives up the market. They're buying properties with their investment funds, whereas a person that works a normal full-time job in Canada is trying to compete with that person, is of course is going to have a problem. And no wonder why we're having these bidding wars, and the people that are probably working normal jobs are getting bidded out on their properties. Of course, we have investors, and they have access to lowest interest rate. The interest rates right now that Bank of Canada and the other banks are offering to so interest rate is actually controlled pretty much by the lending rate is Bank of Canada, and the other banks are giving out interest rate based on the basis of the interest rate that they are paying to Bank of Canada. So you've got the lowest interest rate right now. Bank of Canada was supposed to increase the base interest rate, I believe it was Wednesday, but they have not increased, and they've held back on the increase. We don't know why, but there was a plan to increase. So these are some of the things that we are seeing in the market. The interest rate was supposed to go up. They had said we're going to aggressively bring the interest rate up, but they haven't done it. Why not? So these are some of the questions we have. The current interest rate is well below the inflation rate. We know this already. The inflation, everyone's talking about it. We have one of the highest inflation rates in Canada right now. The government is continuing to add dollars to the economy by allowing central banks to lend the money. So we keep giving out these mortgages. We keep giving out these loans to people with low interest and very, very low down payments. This creates a huge imbalance in the demand due to the earlier shortage. So the earlier shortage that I identified, because we have a shortage, we already have a sort of a demand, and it's driving up the market. But then all these other factors, when you bring this into the picture, imagine what may be going on in the market. So next, on this slide, I'll cover sort of the current government proposals that are being discussed actually right now. So government is forecasting that there's going to be 4.5% growth in the economy for 2022. So that's a good thing. I mean, growth in the economy is always a really, really good thing, but that, of course, drives a lot of other factors. When there's growth in the economy, people are going to have money, which means it's just going to drive those bidding wars to another level. Government is talking about additional tax implications on speculative and investments of local investors. So definitely there's tax implications being talking talked about. If you were to invest in a second home as an investment, or even if you bought a second home to maybe, I know a lot of Muslim families, they like to kind of, put the name of one person in the family, but another person is living there, but it's just a family home anyways, it's not an investment. Well, now you're going to have, if this bill gets passed, then of course we're going to have to talk about and discuss how to manage those taxes, because there will be tax implications. CRA is going to look at it as a investment property. So this is for local investors. There's definitely a anti-flipping tax that's going to be put into place. So if you bought a property and you sell it within a year or two, I believe they're talking about, you will be asked to pay a higher tax. There are stringent rules that are being put into place and tax implications for non-resident buyers. So I explained to you a lot of out-of-country, non-resident Canadian, non-resident investors are trying to buy into Canadian real estate just to make a few bucks and keep their money strong. Well, Canada is trying to put in some rules so that those non-resident Canadian buyers can still buy the property, but they would pay a higher tax maybe. And there might be some more stringent rules, like, for example, not pay 20% down payment or 10% down payment. But if they wanted to get a loan, then they must pay maybe 50% down payment. Another thing that the government is looking to do is to stop the renovictions. This is a word that you might have heard. It's mainly for the landlords or the investors that sort of buy a property and rent it. There was a rule in place that you could evict your tenant if you had some major renovations to do. And at this point, and this was by law, and at this point, what you can do is you can renovate your property and then relist and re-rent that property. What landlords have started to do in the recent years, this year, last year, is basically, because the demand is so high when it comes to real estate, whether it's for rent or buying, the rents jumped high too. So because the rents are jumping higher in certain demographics, if you've rented a property 2 or 3 years ago, maybe you're not collecting the same rate that is, or same market rate that may be a reality today. So what landlords are doing is they're asking their tenants to leave based on this renovation that they have to do. And these tenants will probably find a place for a month or two, only to think that after the unit is renovated, we'll come back and we'll have the same rent. Well, that's not the case. What they're doing is they're renovating the property and then they're relisting it for the current market rate and not the rate that the tenant was paying earlier. So if they were paying $2,000 and the market rate was $3,000, the landlord is listing it for $3,000. And the person that was living there couldn't, sometimes they're just living there because they can't afford anything other than that rent. And that puts the tenant in a very, very difficult situation. So this is something that the government is trying to stop from landlords to do. current government is planning to build 1 million houses with a $72 billion budget across Canada. So this is, of course, they're looking to build some new houses throughout the country. They're looking to renovate any old houses, and of course, renovating which houses, where those are, and which areas. That's a question that we need to ask. There has been an increase in the mortgage rate, and I apologize. There hasn't been an increase, but there will be an increase in the mortgage rate, and the governor of Canada, Bank of Canada is already proposed that there's going to be aggressive interest rate hikes this year. The first one we were supposed to see was on Wednesday this year, but we of course didn't see one, so we're not sure what's going on there. There are programs that are being introduced right now by the government, which is going to allow the sort of the buyers in the market that want to buy, but they don't have enough money to be able to get into a rent-to-own programs with government's help and be able to own a house, home. And the government, of course, is looking to increase wages to match the mortgage payments. So this is something that, you know, we need to think about how they're going to do that, increasing wages, because that's always a difficult one to talk about. Next slide. In this next slide, I will quickly go over some of the financing options that you have in Canada, and we'll close it off there. Again, I'm not endorsing any of these companies. I am not an expert in Islamic financing, but all I'm doing is I'm basically showing you what are some of your options, who you can go to for Islamic financing, and do your own, you know, research, due diligence as required. You may have heard of these some of these options, and you may not have heard of some of these options. So they're here for your benefit. So one of the companies we have is Munzil, Zero Financing, Ahya Financial, Financial, Ijara, CDC, interest-free housing from ISNA, and we have Ansar Housing, Aseni Boni, and Ikraz and Halal Homes. So we have these companies in there, and you know, this list isn't complete. I mean, there might be other smaller organizations that are out there. These are some of the prominent ones that we hear about, and of course there's Al Ihsan Housing as well. So Brother Irfan, do we want to pause for a few questions, or do we want to continue?
Yeah, sure. No, I'm just looking at the chat. Looks like there's only question related to the recording. Yes, inshallah, we'll post this on our Facebook and a link on our main website. And feel free to take these screenshots as Dr. Saab suggested, you know, just in case you want to have a quick glance of anything that you don't want to miss the point. So Jazakallah khair, Asim Bhai, for your great insight. And I know there's a lot to come. There's a lot to see for all of us being in Canada, how and where this shapes. And I hope this, you know, because right now, even people talking about this balloon, right? How big is the balloon, and is it really a balloon or not, right? So those conversations will continue, and we'll definitely come up with some future sessions to talk about these specific things in future. Okay, thank you very much. Let's move on to the next topic, which is the section about buying and renting versus we're going to talk about investment and how Islam sees those investments. And I'll invite Brother Suleiman. Brother Suleiman, you want to start with a quick introduction so that, and also please turn on your camera as you feel like. There you go. Over to you, Brother Suleiman.
Okay. Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. So first of all, I just want to introduce myself. My full name is Muhammad Suleiman Juktai. By profession, I'm a CPA, and I'm working. I have my own office just in Mississauga in Canada. And I have my education background since I did my, after grade 10, I'm in the commerce field. I did my intermediate of commerce, then bachelor's and master's, then MBA, and then eventually the CPA. So for me right now, I used to work in a bank as well. I have a financial in-depth background. So that's my little bit of introduction. I'm the learner, and I'm the student of this Islam as well. And I try to balance my life in dunya on the basis of Islam as well. So right now, the main thing which all of us we are facing is the housing crisis. And Brother Asim has already presented the macroeconomic factor, which is non-controllable. It's for us. And now my role is to introduce you the controllable factors, that what are the controllable factors which individual can see on their end, that how they will going to look into this thing. So which are controllable, because buying a house or renting a house is a big decision for us. It's a big investment for all of us. So I will always say that before we take this decision, or we start making this decision, or even we start thinking about that, okay, whether we should buy or whether we should rent, everyone should ask 5 questions from themselves. Number 1 is top of the line is financial. Number 2 is the duration. Number 3, value. Number 4, feeling. And number 5, what are the negatives, which I'll say crash. So I will go one by one on all those 5 questions, that how we can do. And we, as all the stakeholders, when we are buying the house or renting the house, so we should be asking these questions, because nowadays, mostly our questions are decisions are based on impulse buying. Oh, my brother has bought this thing, or other person has bought this thing, why don't I do it? So we have to see what we should be doing, because the first one is the financial decision. We are taking a big financial decision right now, the affordability. And with this financial decision, sometimes we want to buy a thing where we can feel that we are happy. We don't want to buy the thing that we are always under stress. Oh man, why I bought this thing? I'm working for this thing very badly. So it's very hard for me to meet the both ends. So that is one of the things. The financial matters are the first thing. Number 2, the timing. For how long I will going to invest this property? Because timing is also plays a very crucial role. Down the road, when I will be in my presentation, you will going to see that how the timing will play the role. And the third thing is the cost associated with the timing. That because whenever you will going to buy the house, so you have to pay for the fees, the legal fees, and when you are going to sell the house, you have to pay the legal fees and all the other things, all other ancillary like maintenance and all that stuff. The financial cost is associated. So are we willing to spend that much of money? That is the first question we should ask from ourselves, that when we are deciding whether we should buy or rent. Second is the duration. They are also interconnected. Just for example, if you are going to buy the house for less than 5 years, then you have to see what if within those 5 years the investment has not increased. So then the purpose, what is the purpose? Or I can ask you this question as well, or you can ask you this question from yourself as well, that what is the purpose of buying the house versus renting the house? How long I will going to live into that house? If I'm going to live into that house for 1 or 2 years, so the purpose is not buying a house for myself. It's just a purpose is the investing. So, if the price increases, then I will going to sell this house. So that will define the purpose. Then, because with the duration, you have to know, again, it's the same thing, that you are spending one-time fee for the mortgage, legal fees, land transfer fees, all those things are there. On top of it, then with the duration, you have to see the inflation impact as well. As Brother Asim has already mentioned in his slide, that how the inflation is increasing, and it's getting out of control right now. Everything is getting very expensive. So how we can do that part as well. The third one, now the value. Now, when we are making a big decision to buy the house, we have to ask ourselves, what is the value? What it will be the, what is in for me? I have to buy the house. So now I have to do the calculation, do the math. Should I buy the house in Toronto, where my job is, or nearby Toronto, where I can commute within 10 to 15 minutes? Or I can buy a house in Muskoka or somewhere else, far away, because I have to see my budget as well. I cannot compromise on quality of my living. So you have to make that decision as well. Sometimes you cannot afford to buy the house, but the other factors are there. My kids, okay, if my kids have to go to the university or school, or the schools are not good, so I have to see the value. Then the second part is the cost of maintenance, because if I'm going to buy the value, the financials or the finance which I have, which I can afford, I can only afford to buy the old house. Then I have to keep this thing in my mind, that the old house will always is always on a high maintenance as well, because you always have to keep on replacing the stuff. So all of my savings will be drained out. Is a wise decision for me? Then again, as I mentioned, I just want to make sure whether I want to live in a city or in a cottage, because I can only afford that much of amount, that I can only buy a house where I can only afford a cottage. So what will be the value? So what will be the value for me in this case? Then now another stuff, the feelings. Because now in our culture, or everyone, whenever you go, you are buying a new house or anything, when you buy, you feel a pride and satisfaction. So, but if you are already under pressure, even though you have taken that decision, but the gut feeling is, why, man, why I have locked myself for so many years. I cannot afford you. So you want to take a decision where you feel pride and you feel satisfied that, yes, I have taken this decision and I'm happy for that one. And with the feelings as well. So now you have to see, when you are buying and when you are renting, these analysis you have to do side by side before you are planning to buy a house or to rent a house. And the additional responsibility comes to you, as in case of maintenance. When you are buying a house, that is totally different. You have to keep a maintenance which will, on a normal basis, 3 to 5% is normally you have to spend from your savings to maintain the house. That is what you have to do, because if you will not going to maintain it, after a few years, it will look like a ghost house then. You have to keep on maintaining. Whereas in the renting, what will going to happen? The landlord, it's a responsibility of the landlord. So at the end, the same thing is whether you want to buy a house or a home, because everyone can buy a house, but it's very hard to buy a home. The home is when you enter into your home, so you feel happy, you feel pride, and there is no stress on it. So that are the questions which you have to ask from yourself before you make any decision. And the last question which you have to ask, which is all the negativities as well, because you are investing, because the house investment is a big investment. So you have to ask yourself, what if questions, all the what if lists should be on your paper before you make a decision. What if the property goes down? What if I lose my job? What if my source of income is reduced? What if there is any unexpected, just for example, right now, the pandemic hits for the last 2 years, the businesses and the jobs, there's a job loss as well, there's no business. Same thing what happened in 2008. There was some market calculations and there was a recession. So I'm ready to buy this thing. So before you enter into a contract, I said these 5 questions we should ask from ourselves or from all the stakeholders, what it is. Now let's go and discuss the discussion about buying and selling, buying and renting. What are the differences? What are the advantages we are doing all those things? So if we go with the buying right now, the advantages of buying are when you are the owner, so you feel proud of, you have an ownership of that property. Then you can maintain your privacy as well. No one can say anything to you. Then you can do whatever you want to, whatever you like in your house. There's a freedom of customization. I want to paint my room as green color. My son want to paint his room as red color. There's no problem. But then you are investing this for a long run. It's a long run investment. Then you can rent this property. If you move the job, you can rent this property, and you can but this is that's why I put this at the bottom as an advantage, because at that point in time you have to see how the market will react. So this is these are some of the advantages when you buy the house. So there are some more advantages as well. For every person there are different advantages. So then disadvantages, some of the disadvantages which I think so we have to consider as well, is a maintenance and taxes. When we are buying, the responsibility is on us. Just for example, you cannot, if you have to go back home, or you are going on your vacation, for extended vacation for 3, 4, 5, 6 months. So even though, just for example, over here, the Canadian tradition is, in winters, people go to the south and stay there for 2, 3, 4 months. So still they are paying the maintenance and taxes over here. They have to pay the maintenance cost anyways. The advantage is you have to pay the huge down payment. So this down payment, from where we are getting this down payment? From our savings. Nowadays, keeping in view the value of the houses, from where we are going to spend this thing. We are the saving is that 20%, minimum 20% you have to put as a down for the to get the mortgage, if we are going for that route. And number 3, it's not a liquid asset. When you are buying a house, the brick and mortar you cannot sell. If you need some money right away, so you have already spent your savings towards the down payment of the house, so you don't have any more savings. So if you need the money, so you don't have any liquid assets with you in hand. So that's a disadvantage. As I said, it's a long-term investment. Side by side, it's a long-term commitment as well, because the mortgage is for 25 years, 20, 25 years, 30 years mortgage we are getting over here as well. So it's a long-term commitment that you are signing into. Then after every 4 years, 5 years, 6 years, or as a personal wishes, we have to see that upgrades are required. You need to upgrade, because the older the house is, you have to keep maintaining that thing. So that is the one thing which we have to do. So now what we are doing is, so we have to keep this, you have to do the SWOT analysis, strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threat analysis before you enter into the commitment. What are the benefits of buying? What are the threats to the buying? So I am not saying these things that we are mortgaging the house, or we are going to buy the house, or we are going to rent the house. This is the tradition which is going on right now. So for the personal aspect, we are saying that the buying, the advantages of buying and disadvantages of buying, which is right now which we are doing it. So then number 2 is the rent. So now definitely the renting is on another part. The benefits of the rent is uncertainty of the income. If your income is not certain, you don't want to enter into a contract where you can just buy a house. So the best thing for you is that you can rent it. You know that, okay, my income is up to this much, I can look for a rent up to this much. When there is uncertainty in your career, you don't know where you will going to land for a job. So you can, it's better to, and you don't want to go into the commitment as well. The third thing is the credit history. sometimes people, they don't have a good credit history. So if they don't have a good credit history, they are unable to buy the house. The advantage of rent is that you are not entering into any extra financial commitment. Any extra financial commitment is not on your part, because you have a set rent and that's it. So you just have to pay the rent on a monthly basis, and you don't have to take care of any maintenance cost or anything. So you are over there. Then before, if you want to buy the house, the people are there who wants to buy the house. So you sometimes you don't know the area, the locality, where you want to live or where you want to buy. So the best thing for the renting is as well, that's also advantages. Okay, why don't I just go there and stay and rent a house over there, look into the neighborhood. If I like the neighborhood, then I will think of buying the house as well. Those are the benefits which I think so, and the advantages for the renting as well. So now the disadvantages, similarly, as we are saying, the buying, there has advantages and disadvantages. The rent also has advantages and disadvantages as well. As I already said, the advantages are there, but disadvantages are, people are still saying, oh, no, you are not building any equity right now. When you are renting, you are not building any equity. When you are renting, you don't have a say that, okay, you can change the amenities. Then you cannot do the upgrades. You have to live in that house or in that apartment as per the lease agreements. So those are the things which you have to see. Those are the disadvantages right now. That is the true reality. Then every year, as per the tenant board and landlord board, so what it is, the landlord can increase the rent continuously. So those are the things which you can just see as well. So these are the things that which people are looking into. Now my question is whether we want to rent, whether we want to buy. Here the Islam comes, that people, they are thinking that, okay, so buying is also an option, renting is also an option. Is mortgage, is halal or haram? I'm not going into that question. I'm just saying, I'm just doing a comparison that, okay, with the buying and renting, what we can do. Then on top of it, what we are also doing is that after this slide, can we move into the next one? Here it is, the investment principles. Now these things comes up. For me right now, if we are so on an individual basis, my first part was that 5 questions we have to ask if we want to buy the house. Then we have to do the analysis, whether it is, what are the strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. Every person has their own liking and disliking. But now when I come into this, the second part, so I decided to rent, that's fine. Or I want to buy the house, I have made my decision. Now my question will be, let's talk about what are the current market practices and what Islam says. In the current market practices, so buying, we always say it's long-term investment. And rent, we always say this thing is money available for investment. When we are buying the house, we are using all of our savings towards a down payment. But on the other hand, when we are renting, we are using that savings for ourselves and for the benefit of the ummah and the community as well, because my money is not invested into one house and that I'm using right now. If we see the current market practices, or what I always say, it's this economic system. This economic system always says that, oh, you have the ownership of this. You have to have the ownership of your things. Then this economic system is an opportunity. You have to have the opportunity. Then accumulation of wealth is the main purpose of this economic system. Everyone is taking care of their self-interest, and the market forces are also driving that thing. So if we see all those steps that in the current economic system, these are the things, and these are totally opposite to our Islamic investment practices. Because buying a house is also an Islamic, is an investment. So now we have to see how the Islamic practices are saying. For Islamic investment practice, there should be the concept of amana, infaq, the circulation of money, public need, and accountability, which is totally opposite to the current market practices which are there. Then what's going on right now? People, as of today, so we have to come up with this concept as well, that, okay, so what are the current market practices and what my Islamic investment practices are asking me to do? So when we are going with this current market practice, so we always say, oh, I have the ownership. I want to take the opportunity of getting the property, the benefit of this property. I want to accumulate wealth for myself, for my family, or for my kids, which negates the Islamic investment principle. And Islamic investment principle says, no, you have to circulate the money. You have an amana and you have an infaq. You should not accumulate wealth. You should use, if you have an extra money, use it for public needs. People are talking about that, okay, we should accumulate this wealth. I should have this wealth. So now all of these things, we have to have a better understanding of this Islamic investment versus this economic investment. Now, when we talk about over here, I don't think so. People are so much cash rich that they can buy the houses on cash. Other than they have to go for the mortgage, they have to borrow the money, and they have to do all those things. So the first thing which we have to see right now, the question for me is, am I interested to borrow the money? From where I will going to borrow the money? Islam has given me the guidance. For my next slide, if Islam has given me the guidance, and it is clearly written that whoever takes the interest will not stand, but as stands the one who the demon has driven crazy by his touch. This is already on the screen. Sale is but like riba, while Allah has permitted sale and prohibited riba. So now when I am going for a mortgage, I have to keep this thing in mind as well, whether it's an interest or whether it's I am going to sign a contract, I have to make sure. So now this is also a part of my questions which I have to ask. So Allah, at another, he also mentioned as well, Allah destroys riba and nourishes charities. The same thing which we are saying, I have mentioned in my previous slide, that if we are investing, Islam does not prohibit against investment. But now we have to say, because buying a house is also an investment for us. So how we can do that investment in a halal way or in another way? Right now, Allah has given us all those things. So now the opportunity for everyone, they have to decide. I am not the one, or we are not the one who will going to say, but for me is, I just want to make it open for everyone that how the things are. And now at another place, Allah has also mentioned in Quran, do not eat up the amount acquired through riba, interest, doubled and multiplied. So Allah is forbidding us to lend the money on interest and don't go for the riba. That as an obligation to be fulfilled. If we see, and there is a hadith as well, that the second one is, the debtor is a prisoner. Your companion is being detained by his debt. as the Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam has already said this thing. So what I'm saying is, so when we are going into a long-term commitment of buying a house, so we have to keep these things in mind as well. I have already mentioned about the interest as well. I have already mentioned about the riba as well. So we have to see, we have to analyze that ourselves, because every person have their own mindset. Some people, they are saying that there's no problem. Some people, they say, no, there is a problem. So we have to be very mindful. At another place, it is also said that, oh Allah, I seek refuge with you from sin and heavy debt. So as I mentioned in my at the start, if we are buying a house, so we are entering into a long-term debt, long-term commitment. It's a long-term commitment which we have to enter into. So are we ready? So now, based on these ayahs and ahadith, are we saying that, are we ready for this entering into that contract? So we have to be very thoughtful. Again, there's another hadith, payment of debt before burying the body. If a man were killed in a battle of the sake of Allah, then brought back to life, then killed and brought back to life, and again, then killed, and he owed a debt, he would not enter paradise until his debt was paid off. So it's a very strong hadith as well. So we have to make sure that are we ready for this thing? Another place, whoever dies free from three things, arrogance, cheating, and debt, will enter paradise. So all at another, so there is a good dua for it, to pay off your debts, because nowadays everyone enters for the businesses or something. If someone has need of money, because even at the time of Hazrat Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, peace be upon him, so what people used to take debts as well to do the businesses. So now what you have to do is, so if you have any debt, so you can make dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that, oh Allah, save me from haram and make the halal sufficient, and by your boon favor, make me independent from others. So you always try to keep making these duas, that, okay, so if you are debt free, so you are one of the happiest person in this world, that you are debt free, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has a blessing on you that you don't have any debt. So try not to enter into a debt for any specific reason or something, if there is for worldly things. That's also one of the things which you have to see. And again, I seek refuge in you from overwhelming debt. So when we have to make these duas regularly, because nowadays, due to these economic conditions and economic factors, it is very hard for all of us. So how the things are happening, we have to, I will say, we have to live a contented life. I always say this thing, that just for example, mostly we came over here as an immigrant. And when we are traveling from our country, and we have a transit, we are in a transit. So before coming to Canada, it's the same thing. We are in a transit life right now. So when you are in a transit, do we buy extra luggage, extra stuff for us? No. We on a transit, we just want to go, keep our mindset, and we should be prepared to reach our destination. So what is our destination? So in order to have that destination, we should try to prepare ourselves. So if before we reach our destination, and if there is anything, any debt or anything, we should ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to forgive us, and make us from those people that who enter paradise, and they don't have any debts, and then and they live so there's no debt, and they can enter the paradise without any questions. So now, Irfan bhai, if someone has any questions, I'm happy to take those questions as well. If someone has any questions.
Jazakallah khairan. I just shared this slide again because I know some people may not have taken the screenshot before or talk about, and then I'll take a pause here for just few quick seconds. If anybody has any question, feel free to put in chat or ask directly. Otherwise, inshallah, let's move on to the final topic where inshallah Dr. Badr Fawad, he will introduce himself, and also he's a known scholar, so he's gonna put you the real perspective of what Islam or Deen demands from us being Muslims, and definitely the information that is shared is also gonna be kind of little summarized for you in a different fashion, right? So any question, please feel free to put in chat. Otherwise, what we can do is let Dr. Saab finish the session, his area, and then we will take the question and answer at the end. So if there's still people have certain questions. So Jazakallah khairan. Dr. Saab, are you ready? If you want to share your screen and do your introduction, and I'll switch to your slides.
Gee, I'm ready.
You want to turn on your camera and please start with your introduction while I'm pulling up your slides.
نحمده ونصلي على رسوله الكريم أما بعد فأعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي اللهم آمين. I just shared my presentation. Is it visible, brother Irfan?
Yeah, it's all good. If you
Okay,
if you can
so
do
if I
Shift F5 to run in full, I think that would be great.
okay, let me try that.
Yeah, just say Shift F5. That's an easy, quick hit. Yeah, there you go.
Okay,
All
great.
good.
So this is the slide which talks about present solutions in our environment. I was reading a comment of a brother, and he was disagreeing with that. So I think Brother Salman in his presentation very clearly disassociated himself, that he is not promoting this. He's just giving awareness that this is these are the players in the market, because the purpose of this this presentation is to provide you information. We have this kind of attitude that when we disagree from someone's belief system, that's fine to disagree, you know, but then becoming aggressive and saying, you know, start using such language which is disrespectful from other, this is not a good practice. Okay, so now the thing is, the question which has come up in the presentation till this point. First, we had this overview and understanding of Canadian market, what's going on. Then in second step, we gave an understanding towards a buyer's perspective, that if somebody is, you know, going to buy, it has made up the mind that, okay, I'm going to buy a house. What you know, options that person should be thinking in terms of investing, in terms of, you know, choosing going for Islamic mortgage or not, you know, and buying versus rent, these kind of things, we kept these options, we kept in front of you. We also kept in front of you, you know, the ayahs of Allah and Ahadith that talks about, that discourages this. Right, so now my job is to take it to a next level, to see, in current Islamic financing practices, we have issues. And this is what Brother Irfan advised, participants to hold on. More information is coming up. So this is what we're going to be discussing now. Now, first and foremost thing, elimination of riba came as the very last command of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala when Islam was fully established. Islam established means the zakat system was established, the charity was established, the law was established, and Islam has a purpose. And the purpose is very clear of Islam, mentioned in Surah Hadid, ayah number 25, that is to establish justice. And this is the purpose and hikmah of Sharia as well, to establish justice, to establish transparency, to establish fairness. And this is the purpose, the adl and qist, to establish that. And riba was, doing injustice to people by exploiting them. A person who goes for a loan is a needy. If he had money, he wouldn't have gone for the loan. Now, a needy comes to you for a loan and you end up asking him to pay you more money than you initially gave that person. So this is not fair. This is not right. While that money was sitting idle with you, this is the right context in which, it becomes exploitative. Today, the current Islamic financing practices in our particular environment, we see that what you give is more than what banks are charging you as interest. So, though in order to make them halal at the level of, to fulfill the command of Allah, we end up charging more money from those who are taking the loans. The second point which I need to bring here is elimination of interest. So what Islam did, Islam eliminated riba. They do not charge double or triple, as Allah says in Quran. Simple interest or compounding interest, both were eliminated completely, scratched out. And we know that this addition of extra money, it's easy to understand that if, example, assume for a minute that there are only two people in an economy and one person is giving money to another, there's only $100 and one person has $100, the other person has $0. It's an ideal situation to assume. So one person gives $100 to a person who has $0, and that's the total money in the economy. And he says, I want 110 back. Now, where this person is gonna get the extra $10? So this is how this riba or interest inflates the economy, and inflation has its consequences. So elimination of interest was the key, and Allah spoke about it, that Allah eliminates riba and increases the charity, whereas charity, the wealth remains same, but the circulation increases. Whereas in interest or riba, the wealth decreases while the number of money or currency notes or currency bills or coins increases. Third, we need to see that, these players who are in the market, though this is the only option we have right now, unfortunately, but these players who are providing Islamic financing options, what is the source of funding which we need to see? If the source of funding is coming from the same principal banks, then what's the point? Or if the source of funding are not clean, then you end up into the same problem by paying extra money, for taking the loans. Another issue is that extra money in this particular system, financial system we are living in. I think someone's mic is on. If you can kindly mute the mic, that will, reduce the disruption. Thank you. Now, we are finding an Islamic financing solution within the economy. The economy is not Islamic, while we are trying to do something in the middle so that need may be fulfilled of somebody who wants to take a loan. And you end up charging him like 7%, while banks are charging 2, 3, 4%, and you end up charging 6, 7%. Interest, as we just discussed, it creates inflation. Inflation decreases the value of money. And inflation also does something which is very interesting. It rips off money of each and every individual living within that economy and holding the money. It rips it off. It decreases the buying power of each and every person, not for few. So imagine the extent. I mean, in Sood or riba, one person was getting affected by another, and Allah made it haram. Imagine inflation. It's ripping off every person. It's exploiting every person. What would be the level of inflation in terms of sin? Okay, now Islam, as Allah said, the ayahs are coming up after that. I'm going to be discussing, just reading quickly those ayahs in front of you, talks about circulation of money. It's the circulation of money. I pay you, you pay you and buy something from you, you pay me and buy something from me. This is how the economy runs. The same money circulating, people are buying, selling, selling. This is how it goes. So the circulation has to be made effective. Rather, it start, getting hoarded or collected in few hands. This is not what Islam appreciates, and this is mentioned in Quran. Is choosing and opting for Islamic financing, which is the only option you have, by the way, trying to avoid is better. A lot of people say that, but equal amount of people say, we don't have any option, and we are supporting the system anyways, so we're going to go for this. Anyway, that's their personal decision, definitely. So supporting current financial system. Now, if instead of fixing the whole system, what we attempted here, we attempted a patchwork in order to fulfill our need. This is what we did. And by doing that, we are actually supporting the current financial system. And the financial system is based on interest. It's based on chance, especially, the exchanges, the monetary exchange and other exchanges where futures have been sold and the risks have been sold, where, such products have been sold which actually don't exist, and you're selling the profit and loss on speculation. Now this impacts the whole financial system. It changes the value of money, and not only those people get affected, everybody gets affected. Gambling is haram because one person gets ripped off because of his stupidity and greed. Imagine this kind of exchanges based on chance is ripping off the whole humanity. I mean, all people living in that particular economy gets affected, gets market crashes. What happens? It can end up into a recession, brothers. Imagine how much devastation it could bring. A lot of people will go jobless, hunger, misery, maybe suicides. So look at that, what we are into it. And we are so mean that we want to fix only our part, so that we can buy a house, and we are opting for a financial, Islamic financing option, which is a patchwork. So what is the right thing to do? To struggle to change the whole system. And that struggle needs, there's a big portion of, Islam that resolves all these issues. And the more you go into trouble, the more you get reminded. Allah was putting, nations into, in hardships so that they may turn back to Allah. Now we, instead of turning back to Allah and, struggling to revive Islamic system, to put our chip into it, to put our portion to it. I mean, everybody's useful in some way or the other. But instead of that, what we did, we went for a temporary fix. Now, that has consequences. I mean, doesn't mean that you did a temporary fix by creating a lot of turbulence, inflation, circulation of money was affected, so on and so forth, and you're supporting the system, which is batil, and then and you're getting satisfied. Actually, this is not something good. Now, the ayahs which Allah talks about, that in order that the money may not become confined to rich amongst you, is Surah Hashr, ayah number 7. And then Allah also, this Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam talking here in this hadith that wherein Allah imposes upon them sadaqah, alms on their wealth to be taken from the rich and then given to be poor. And this is, one of the reason, like Fir'aun, he dreamt, and Yusuf alayhi salam, who was in prison, he gave him a solution that, give me this. I think this drought is coming, famine is coming, and then, I can manage your economy. And he ended up building his economy so strong that Fir'aun went to a next level of, their kingship. Similarly, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala here gave Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam this system of zakat, which was based on Baytul Mal. And this is what has been given, that, the money should not get concentrated in few hands. Another in Surah Baqarah, Allah says that Allah destroys riba and increases sadaqat, in which terms that riba increases inflation, while sadaqah consolidates wealth and increases the cash flow, the circulation of money. And then another place also, it has been said that, it usually, doesn't increase with Allah, while charity does. In Surah Rum, ayah number 39. Now, having said that, we have a problem here. And the problem is that what should we do? I mean, it's wherever we go, this modern financial system with all its flair is at play. And the patchwork, let you go to any Muslim country, you find the same financial system which has been patched on the existing prevalent Western financial system. So what would have been better? That people would have done some changes to the main system, Now, why we are talking about the system here? Just because of to buy a house, I have to change the system. This is what I meant? No, because this is part of our obligation. Deen is not only beliefs, modes of worship or rituals. Some worships, some do's and don'ts. So a belief system that said you believe in one Allah, Akhirah, Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and boom, deal done. No, Islam is a complete, that's why I call it deen, not religion. It's a complete code of life, and it covers all aspects of life, especially the collective one. And in collective domain, economy has the most important role, because you don't go out if you don't need to make money. And this is another slide that tells you that Islam, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala demands from us, Ya ayyuhallazina amanu dukhulu fi silmi kaffa. Those who have come to believe, enter Islam completely. Now, then again, Islam has been said, what do you mean I'm supposed to enter? Should I enter only ibadat? Or should I enter only aqaid? or a few rasumat, or maybe ikhlaqiyat, which makes ma'ashrat easy? Or should I go to siyasat, like politics? What I'm supposed to do? What about maishat, the economy? Is not economy part of it? It is. This is not a pizza. This is to show you that maishat, which is economy, is an integral part of Islam. And struggling and working for it is working for Islam. Now, you see, if we work for Islam, what we are supposed to work? What changes economic reforms or economic domain of Islam requires? We have, for example, here first is the positive cash flow of the economy. You may choose, an instrument, or you create one, and you focus on the positive cash flow and the circulation by putting money where the growth is, by putting money where the exports are, by putting money where, the extraction of raw material, mining and all that stuff is. By putting money, so economy grows, jobs grow. Then, non-interest based banking. Interest, then banks has, derivative, then banks has risks products, and so on and so forth. Banks should be allowed only for, service they're charging, like a trade, and they're producing, some service of taking money. Scholar says this may be allowed. And, recently Afghanistan, which they established Islamic banking, they also introduced, such model. A lot of products have not been yet introduced. They're thinking about those, but they came up with, Then of what is another objective for Islamic reforms? Reduction of the, the poor class, or to reduce the gap between rich and poor, or to grow the middle class, and how you can do that by developing the economy and a supporting educational system with that. The industries will flourish, and and so on. Then risk and chance free economy. You have to find alternate solutions for risk and chance based trading and economy. You have to find other solutions. Normally, for a food of thought, in chance based economy, what's going on, especially let's go in commodity exchange for a minute. I went there in the commodity exchange or stock exchange to take my stocks of commodity there so that I can generate some money. And then free trading was allowed. People can buy. It's just for, free economy. In order, we end up creating a gambling, a chance, and a lot of people lose money. So this can be fixed. It's not a non-fixable thing. Initially, those who are going there can be given alternate solutions. And those who need to buy such stocks, they should not go into, gamble sort of a trade. That can be limited too. Then equitable currency value system. The value of currency is going crazy. People who are living in this country for 10 years or more, 20 years, 30 years, they know $100 used to buy them a lot of grocery. Now it doesn't. What's going on? The value of currency is losing. Why is that? So value system can be rebuilt, currency can be rebuilt. There are equitable currency models, and we're going to be having another whole session on equitable digital currency models, which are, backed by government and pegged with your SIN in order to create transparency. Can be done. Then trade deficit has to be balanced in order to prevent, devaluation of your currency. So last but not the least, the most important thing, which is good governance, justice, fairness, transparency. These are the fundamental principles of Islam. And this can only be done by preparing such people who are capable, who have vision, who are well versed with the system and have the solution and can come into power and can come into government to make these changes. So that can only, and this is Islamic principles though, but they are universal principles too. These are the fitrah of the creation of Allah in all aspects. And it has been accepted by everyone who doesn't like justice, who doesn't like fairness, who doesn't like transparency. We end up emphasizing on some aspects of Islam by totally ignoring on those aspects which are common between them and us, between everyone. Now, where are we? We are just trying to see a solution, economic solution. And we saw a couple of slides to visualize how our deen should be perceived and viewed. Now, this is another slide in front of you that breaks this, concept of deen, which only talks about, imaniyat and ibadat and ikhlaqiyat. There you see, right in front of you. Let me have a control of the pen. Their option, I can have a pen. No, I don't know. Okay, maybe here. Pen, highlighter, no. Pen, yeah, here we go. You see here, imaniyat. Here we go. Imaniyat, ibadat, ikhlaqiyat. And this is what you hear every time you go to listen to a lecture. You go to attend a Jummah Salah and attend a Jummah Khutbah. These are the topics we've been stuck in talking about. For the last 1400 years, we are endorsing and emphasizing only on these topics. While mu'amalat, if you see, nobody's bothered about that anymore, especially in West. And then, the riyasat, nobody bothers about it. Then obviously when that's going to be done, then ma'ashat can be established. So why this slide has been presented to you? To have an understanding that you are a Muslim and this is your deen. This is the whole concept of deen, the complete understanding of deen. Now, this is the whole picture. If you want, you can take a screenshot and you can see the areas. These are not entire areas, but this is what it's supposed to be. And each and every block you see in front of you, there is ayah or hadith sitting behind it. And this is part of our deen. And what we are doing, we are presenting half deen to Allah, where Allah tells us that udkhilu fi silmi kaffa. وَمَنْ يَبْتَغِي غَيْرَ إِسْلَامَ دِينًا وَمَنْ يُقْبَلَ مِنْهُ. Those who will produce and bring any other deen except Islam. So in this particular domain, the central imaniyat, ibadat, we present Islam, but in other areas, we don't present Islam. Now, that's the problem. So this might be accepted, but this definitely is not going to be accepted. Especially, the economic domain. Also, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives this responsibility to us and puts this burden on us. Allah says, An aqimu deena wa la tatafarraqu fi. Establish deen. Allah is commanding us directly. This qama yaqumu is the same word used for salah. Establish salah. Similarly, establish deen, which means establish deen on yourself, in your house, in your society, and in your economy, in your country, and then in the world. So struggling to establish deen is the obligation It's the obligation of Islam. And if you're only struggling to establish, these few things, then yes, you establish, yes, you're working, but you're working for an incomplete and a part of it, a partial Islam, what you're promoting and establishing. And that's the problem. When we reduce Islam to this level, they make Islam stand with Hinduism, with Sikhism, with Buddhism, with Christianity, with Judaism. He said, this is just another Shintoism, just another religion, where Islam is not a religion. Now I would like to bring this slide in front of you, brothers. وَمَا بِكُمْ بِنِعْمَةٍ فَمِنَ اللَّهِ. Whatever you have, all the blessings you have is from Allah. Do not think for a minute that you are the one who earned it. Whatever you have, your life, your children, your family, the money you have, the job you have, the business you have, do not think for a minute it is something in you extraordinary and you did it. It is from Allah. And another place Allah says, وَإِن تَعُدُّوا نِعْمَةَ اللَّهِ لَا تَحْصُوهَا. If you want to count the blessings of Allah, you won't be able to count it. You won't be able to count it. Why I'm saying that? Just to tell you that the deen of Allah needs you. And this deen is our inheritance today. This is our, and we belong to it. And this is our job. No prophet is gonna come. When Mahdi will come, so come. Today, now, it's our responsibility to work for it, to establish it, to keep it alive, and to struggle for it. And for that, we have a platform, Tanzim Ahya-e-Islam. From this, we are conducting this program. And this is what we are bringing to you, that this housing issue, and we gave you a good explanation of the market and all the players and everything, what do and what don't, everything we kept in front of you, possible in this short span of time. But we would like to give this, put this point in front of you to think about it, that this is a patchwork. It's halal or haram, muftis are supposed to talk about it. We are just ordinary common people. But what fard on us is to struggle for Islam. That is on everyone. It's not on somebody. Everyone has to struggle for it. It's not one man's job. So what we can do, we can join this platform, this organization in any capacity, whatsoever, to struggle and to work for the deen of Allah. Another reason to join is to struggle to create a system that will help establish deen as a system. Right now, deen has been demoted, degraded, reduced to a religion with some beliefs, some do's and don'ts, some modes of worship. That's it. The highest good today is to make a mosque or to go for umrah. So deen has been reduced. So this is an opportunity for you to join, to struggle, to establish the deen of Allah as a system. And it can be done through this making this economic system a just system, a transparent system, by inculcating technology in it, by introducing new laws in it. Masses will accept it. Then join to be thankful to Allah. You know how much blessings Allah has given us. And we do verbal thank, that's fine. But beside verbal thank, we have to do thank by worship. And even that is not enough. We should serve Allah by working to establish His deen in order to thank Him for all the blessings He has given us. To prove to Him and to others, we belong to Allah. Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. And we are going towards Him, and we are struggling for Him, and we want to fulfill His commands. Join because Allah has given you abilities, which Allah has given you, and these abilities you can put to work for the deen of Allah. Why don't you? Why are we only using our intellect, our ability, our time, our money for our own needs, desires? Are we slave to our own needs and desires? Can't we allocate some time in a week to struggle for the deen of Allah? Can't we? So join because of that. Join as this is the highest charity. You know what's going to happen when deen will be established? Justice will prevail. Transparency will prevail. Truth. Islam is all about truth. Truth will prevail. The prevailing such laws that are transparent. Even today, we can do that. Any level in political arena, let's suppose all the decisions politicians make with closed doors, we elect them, they make our financial decisions, we can bring it out. Make technology is there, we can make it transparent. We can let people make their own financial decisions and make politicians work as managers. Now imagine what this idea could do if it goes in people. Just to establish one aspect of Islam, which is haqq, which is truth, which is transparency in today's terms. So to fix the system, we be saving and helping millions. It is adl in terms of in economic domain means a transparent, equitable financial system where nobody can exploit no one. This is what it is meant. Even if you attempt to work to create such a system, your niyyah will make you earn the reward of as if you established for the entire humanity. What could be? Now tell me, making one masjid is better or working to establish the deen of Allah is better? And last but not the least, highest reward possible. Highest reward possible. Just in making intention and joining would give you great reward that you are going to struggle and establish the deen of Allah in its totality, not a part of it. Not doing just charity or not doing just iman, not teaching such just one subject. All are good, they're not bad. But if you connect it with the establishment of deen, and it comes under one umbrella, then it becomes a significant thing. And innamal a'malu binniyat, if you have this niyyah of re-establishing deen, then Allah will reward you the best. So this is the last slide which I'm supposed to present. And I would request you all that we have a form, you can fill it up to join us. More programs also coming up, we'll be doing monthly programs, inshallah. Though we have a lot of other programs going on in our circles. So which brother Irfan will tell you more. أقول قولي هذا أستغفر الله لي ولكم ولسائر المسلمين فاستغفروا إنه هو الغفور الرحيم. جزاك الله.
Jazakallah khairan, Dr. Saab, mashallah. Actually, I think I just want to add a few words for Dr. Saab because his introduction was supposed to be from his own, saying, but I thought that he probably didn't get a chance and jumped into the topic. So Dr. Fawad, mashallah, is a founder member of this organization as well, and also been in community and delivering Jummah khutbahs as well as lectures in the GTA area. He is by profession a medical doctor as well as a full lawyer. Plus he holds his master's in business administration. He loves IT as well. And he's also a direct student of Dr. Israr Ahmed and qualified from the Quran Academy Karachi, where he was teaching also. So just a quick profile for him so that you understand the perspective that is coming. He's trying to connect today's issue with where we stand and as a Muslim, what our role should be. So inshallah, before going into the question and answer, I'll open the floor. I will definitely start reading some of the questions that I see in the chat, and I'll let presenters talk about it one by one, depending on the area that they were. But I thought I'll just share these 2 slides quickly for you, for those who, let's say, don't have much time to stay on the call, because time is also important. Just looking at the time, we have about 12 minutes to go through other stuff. So quickly, these are some of the topics you see here that we intend to present to you guys. So please stay in touch, and there's next slide coming where you can actually provide us feedback on this presentation, how it was today. And also you can propose future topics that you might have interest, because we are trying to do a series of topics that are related to Islam, finance, and how this current Canadian economic system has been building and where it's taking us, looking at what other areas could be. So you see some of the titles coming up, right? These are some of the areas that we intend to keep you guys posted and keep coming back to the public with these topics. And definitely, there could be more topics that are of your interest, and depending on if you keep sharing with us your feedbacks, we'll definitely consider them. So you see a comprehensive list of topics that we really want to talk about, and they are all around the economics and how today we can help build societies, right? So again, idea is to reach to a model where we understand the Islamic principles and bring them into today's time, in today's world, as a benefit to humanity, right? We have seen how West has presented humanity, and certainly there are many areas, and we can talk about that, where people are reaping benefits. And we know the only complete, fulsome solution is given, what is given by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So why not, we should be able to present that in today's term, make it so simple and straightforward and easy for people to understand that everybody could reap benefit. So as there's a great saying that, if Muslims think that Islam is only for themselves, that's a selfishness, right? Islam is for humanity, and that's what the call is. But the effort, we should not expect from others to do the effort. The effort has to come from the Muslims, right? It's like, if you have something, it's your responsibility to give it to others, right? Because others don't have it and they don't know about it. So it's I can keep going on and on. There could be a topic on independent, an independent topic on dawah and other areas. We do those type of sessions as well. But these are some of the topics we will take care, inshallah, in upcoming sessions. And again, Islam and politics, another very untouched topic. A lot of people, when we talk about politics and Islam, there's always, you see, 2 straight lines. One say, politics is not about Islam, and some talks about, yeah, Islam is political as well. So, there's a good debate there. So we'll come to those topics. And last but not the least, I just put up the website. So if you have a quick moment, please go through this link, and we really appreciate feedback and time. And now let's move on to the question and answer. So I'm just going back in the chat history. Oh, mashallah, there's a lot of messages here. So let me see where we were, and then I'll start picking some of them, depending on the time. And if you guys are okay, stay a little over after, I'm happy to take more questions, inshallah. Okay, so what's the question? Okay, okay, Brother Ali, hopefully we are settled with your questions. I know you started up early, so hopefully you see that we are not trying to suggest people that buying a house, going into mortgage is the only option. Idea was to just compare the both sides and leave it for people to decide. Everybody, based on their belief system, will have their own ways to qualify or certify the information that they are looking into. So we are not there. Idea was to bring up everybody to a next level, which we hope Dr. Saab has, mashallah, spend good time and very focused emphasis on where we should be from that focus perspective. Okay, the next question that I see here, are there Islamic institutions? Do they have compliance with Sharia? That's another very good question, brother. So far as we see, and you see the landscape that we presented is pretty latest. Frankly, hardly there will be anybody who left out of that landscape. Just to add that there are two types of companies that we see. One who are only looking into investments. So you will see Islamic companies who are looking into only Islamic investment, or that is not covered in this slide, but the company's names that you see, they all say that they have Islamic financial option, and we will suggest you or recommend you to do your own independent analysis. If you want to inbox us, we can definitely reach out to you and share the personal experiences and information, because a lot of us been through the market, and we've been all, frankly, some point here and there looking or trying to help people. So we can definitely share this on one-on-one. But certainly that was not the focus of this conversation today. Okay, moving on. The next question I see, please advise how who lives in Canada can buy house Islamic way. So brother, I hope this question is covered in the conversation that we talk about. Again, a lot of options available. One-on-one we can talk about which may work for you, but again, idea was not just to promote just buying a house. We presented both sides, buying versus renting. There's pros and cons, so hopefully that would have helped you underlying the decision that you have, and how best that suits to you as a personal. Okay. Next question I have is, buying home by loan is not restricted in Islam. So I think that's more of a statement than a question. So, but yeah, that's again individual to figure out, are they really looking into, remember we talk about the debt versus the what's the investment. So we need to have a real good balance understanding it, right? Most of the house buying is a long-term solution, is a short-term solution. So we need to think about that. Next question is sources of funding and how to calculate the payback, right? There's a lot of investment calculators available that helps you to do that. So I think it's all depends what one is trying to do. You're buying a house to live, or you're buying a house to invest, could lead to a different conversation. So just keep that in mind. Well, mashallah, more questions coming. Anyway, I'll try to catch up as many as I can. Can't we have an Islamic bank in Canada? Mashallah, that's a very valid question, brother. I don't know if you are aware of, there's already an effort done by the Imam Council. There are a couple of mashallah known Islamic scholars from GTA who's been already trying this, and definitely they are looking for community support. But keep in mind, whatever solution they come is going to be within the current Canadian financial guidelines, right? So yes, there is an Islamic banking credit union effort is happening right now. So their website is available. You can just Google it and you can find out. And definitely you can listen to them what they are trying to offer. But definitely, idea is that they're trying to come up with an Islamic community-based banking, which is going to be monitored, managed, and controlled by the Canadian current financial rulings that they have, right? So it's not going to be, it's hard to say how it shapes up, but definitely there's some discussion there. Next question. Instead of having a small institution, why can't we support one institution and make it big? Good question. I would ask Dr. Saab if you would like to add something to that.
जी अस्सलाम वालेकुम जी, देखें ये लोगों का हक है कि वो सॉल्यूशंस लेके आएं, और अल्लाह ताला भी कुरान में यही हक लोगों को देता है। और एक तरफ तो एक जगह तो यहाँ तक हक दे देता है कि अल्लाह ताला फरमाता है कुरान में सूरह नूर आयत नंबर 55, जिसमें अल्लाह ताला फरमाते हैं कि मैं तुम्हारे लिए तुम्हारा दीन कायम कर दूंगा और उस पर राजी हो जाऊंगा तुमसे। तो तुम्हारे लिए तुम्हारा दीन में यहाँ उलमा कहते हैं गुंजाइश है कि लोगों को अब इस दौर में इस्लाम की जो मौजूदा जो निज़ाम चल रहे हैं उसमें इस्लाम को निज़ाम की हैसियत से बना के पेश करने की गुंजाइश है। تو جو ہے یہ ایک چوائس آپشن دیتا ہے. اگر کوئی سمجھتا ہے کہ اس کے پاس اسلامی سولوشن ہے تو وہ لائے. اگر اللہ تعالیٰ کو قبول ہوگا اللہ تعالیٰ اس کو تمکن دے دے گا. وَلَا يُمَكِّنَنَّ لَهُمْ دِينَهُمُ الَّذِي ارْتَضَىٰ لَهُمْ, یہ وہ آیت ہے, اور اللہ تعالیٰ اس کو تمکن دے گا. اور تو یہ ہے. دوسرا جہاں تک بات ہے کہ یونٹی کا یہ کانسیپٹ سارا آتا ہے کہ سب ایک جیسے ہو جائیں, سب ایک رنگ میں رنگ جائیں, سب ایک ڈھنگ میں ڈھنگ جائیں ایک عقیدے پہ. بھائی 1400 سال میں ایک عقیدے پر ایک نہیں ہو سکے, بلکہ تو بڑا ہے معاملہ, گھٹا نہیں ہے. کتنی کوششیں کی ہیں, بڑے بڑے علماء نے پوری زندگیاں لگا دی ہیں. تو جو ہے اس کی گنجائش دے رکھی ہے. نبی کریم صلی اللہ علیہ وسلم نے نمازیں بھی کئی طرح سے پڑھی, تو یہ گنجائش دے رکھی ہے کہ آپ اس اختلاط کو اختلاف نہ سمجھیں. اختلاط ضرور ہے, اختلاف نہیں ہے. تو یہاں پر یونٹی کی جہاں ضرورت ہے وہاں اللہ کی شریعت کے نفاذ کے لیے کوئی حل, اس پر یونٹی کی ضرورت ہے. اور جب آپ حل ایسا قابل عمل لے کے آئیں گے تو مجھے امید ہے بہت سے لوگ اس میں شامل ہو جائیں اور وہ آٹومیٹیکلی ڈومینیٹ کر جائے گی. یہ دین فطرت ہے, اور یہ فطرت کے اصولوں کے مطابق ایسا ہی ہوتا آیا ہے. ہم نے دیکھا ہے کہ جو چیز بھی فطرت قبول کرتی ہے وہ خود ہی پھیل جاتی ہے. تو اسلام بھی جب آیا تھا شروع میں نظام کی حیثیت سے پھیلتا چلا گیا, لوگ اس کو قبول کرتے چلے گئے. جیسے آج ہم ویسٹ میں جاتے ہیں, ایک دور تھا جب اسلام آیا تھا لوگ مدینہ جاتے تھے کہ یار مدینے چلے جاؤ, یہاں بادشاہ ٹیکس لیتے ہیں ہم سے 15-20%, وہاں تو یار نان مسلم سے 1% عشر لیا جاتا ہے. وہاں عزت ہے, وہاں قانون ہے, وہاں حق ملتا ہے آپ کو, وہاں عدل ملتا ہے, وہاں انصاف ملتا ہے, وہاں عزت ملتی ہے, وہاں صفائی ہے, وہاں پاکی ہے, وہاں ہمدردی ہے لوگوں میں. بندہ کھانا نہیں کھاتا جب تک پڑوسی کو اپنے کھانا نہ دے لے. وہاں تو بڑی جو ہے وہ ایک مروت ہے, لحاظ ہے, ہمدردی ہے. وہاں چلو. تو آج ہم نے وہ چیزیں چھوڑ دی. نہ وہ نظام رہا, نہ وہ اخلاقیات رہی, نہ وہ معاشرت رہی, نہ معیشت رہی, نہ سیاست رہی. یہ ایک ایک کر کے سارے پلر گرتے چلے گئے اسلام کے. تو کہنے کا مقصد ہے کہ اس وجہ سے کہ آج کون ان تمام معاملات کا حل دے گا, جو دے گا اللہ تعالیٰ اس کو قبول فرمائے گا, اس کو تقویت دے گا, اور اس کے لیے اس کو تمکن عطا فرمائے گا. تو یہ ہے اس کا جی جواب. جزاک اللہ.
جی جزاک اللہ خیرن. جی نیکسٹ کوشچن از اباؤٹ okay, best option is, okay, that's more a comment back. Best option is rent to own, and similar to that is the how rent to own calculation happens. So brother, as I said, let's get in touch in person if you need. We can definitely guide you. We have mashallah brother Suleiman and few other brothers who are qualified in that in calculations and all that. But again, I hope you got the other, general principle of why this discussion was all happening. Okay. 99% of the time interest is involved. I have been searching for years to truly find an actual method in Canada. So brother, I think this is also very, specific question based on what your criteria of qualifications are. As I said, our idea was just to present, and definitely you can reach out to them and see what method they follow or show you, and whether you agree or disagree with them, right? So again, that's again a little specialty nowadays, because everybody has its own understanding of what the Islamic mode of financing is. Inshallah, in future topics you probably saw, we will touch upon what the actual principles are, or the areas that Islam actually promotes, and then I think that at that point we could do a little comparison of what's available in the market. Okay, next one is, could you please clarify with example how riba creates inflation? So I think it's very, very interesting question. Dr. would you like to take that one? Otherwise, I can give it a try.
یہ ویسے جو ہمارا نیکسٹ ٹاپک آ رہا ہے اس میں جہاں ہم کرنسی کو ایکسپلین کریں گے, وہاں انفلیشن کو بھی ایکسپلین کریں گے, کیسے جو ہے وہ کرنسی انفلیٹ کر. ویسے میں نے اگزامپل تو بڑی سمپل سی دی تھی کہ اکانومی کو کنسیڈر کر لیں کہ 2 بندے ہیں اکانومی میں, ایک کے پاس $100 ہے, ایک کے پاس $0 ہے. جب وہ دوسرے کو دیتا ہے پیسے, ایک آدمی دوسرے کو پیسے دیتا ہے کہ یہ لو $100 میں تمہیں لون دیتا ہوں, مگر میں, okay, somebody is asking me to say in English, I said that in English, so I'm repeating it in Urdu. Maybe that is the reason the person couldn't understand. This is the simplest example I could come up with. The simplest form of explanation that how riba is going to inflate the currency. And the simplest example is, assume that there are two people living in an economy. One has $100, one has $0. The $100 one gives $100 as a loan to the one who has $0. Now this person asks back $10 riba on it. Now, how much is the total money in the economy? It became 110. So what happened? Then how the $10 is going to come? Is going to devalue the currency. It's going to remain $100, but it's going to devalue. So this is how inflation changes the value of your money. This is the simplest example I can come up. I don't know how simple we need now. So now apply this thing in a multiple transaction happening every other day. Every other day. It's going round and round and multiple times in a year. And interest has been added, especially the compound one, which Allah clearly says, do not eat double and triple. So imagine it's been going on round and round multiple times, and this interest is getting added, extra money is getting added to this money, extra money. Where this extra money is going to come from? It's going to inflate the economy. This is how interest inflates the economy. Brother Irfan, if you have to add something to that.
Ji, Jazakallah khairan. Dr. I think you covered it. Just in a little, small definition, if you want to look at this, is that whenever there's an excess of money to people, then inflation is automatically there, right? Because you are making access of the money easy for people. Definitely the criteria would be only for those who already are financially stable, which means you are doing an injustice automatically for those who do not have financial stability, right? So that's a basic fundamental criteria, but definitely you can expand on it. So if we talk about this topic in future sessions, definitely we can expand on more. But the idea is government taking care of not only just the financial need, but also the prosperity of the people as well. And we see today that when house pricing is going up, we see a lot of other pricing going up as well. So at the end, your disposable income or your take-home income that you have after paying taxes and everything, it's getting shrunk, right? So that's where you see inflation is hitting. So hope that covers that part. I know, just checking time, I'll just take 2 more minutes for a few more questions, and then we can conclude the session. And once again, thank you for all of you joining and staying here. Let me share also quickly the program list that we have. So feel free to join us, anytime. Here's the list of our programs. The links are all available. This is available on our website. So let me just pull it up here, if you guys can see it now. Oops, sorry. I think it's, can you guys see the list of programs? Yeah, I think I'm
make it a little big.
Yeah, I think I'm sharing the right screen. Yeah, sure. Okay, I can do that. So here you go. So you can just go to the website and you can see all the programs that we have. And in the meantime, let me just continue with some of the other questions that we see. Okay. All right, so the next question that I have is, thinking of riba, how easy or hard it is to acquire a large sum of cash, low interest rates, easier to acquire a large sum of cash. Yeah, I think we talk about that. So that's kind of thing I was just mentioning earlier, and Dr. Elaborated a bit. Yes, brother, Jazakallah khair for sharing the link. Yeah, that was the slide that Dr. presented is the work of Dr. Khalilur Rahman Chishti Sahab, mashallah. May Allah bless him for his good work. He has also done a great job on summarizing the each and every surah of Quran. So that's also his an excellent work, and some of his work is available on online, as well as available in print form in Canada as well. So anybody interested can get in touch as well. I have shared the feedback form, and it's also in the link. So please feel free to use that feedback form to give us your input on how this session was and how much you like, and also in any future topic that you may be interested in, inshallah. So please do register with us in case you want us to keep you informed with the upcoming sessions, and definitely that's the form we're going to use. And I don't see any other specific question, except somebody is talking about riba versus inflation. So I thought we covered that one as well. So if there is no more questions, I think we can close this session. I'll ask Dr. Saab to just make a quick dua. And also, Dr. Saab, if you remember, today is the anniversary as well for the incident that happened in Quebec. So may Allah help us to fight and also avoid Islamophobia and other big challenges that we are facing. Certainly, what you see today is a tough time. The way as community we're trying to survive. So Jazakallah khairan for staying with us and joining this program. Jirar, so over to you just for final dua.
Jazakallah. Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah. As-salatu was-salamu ala Rasulillah wa ala alihi wa ashabihi ajma'in. ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار رب اغفر لي ولوالدي وللمؤمنين يوم يقوم الحساب رب اغفر وارحم أنت خير الراحمين رب هب لي من الصالحين ربنا فاغفر لنا ذنوبنا وكفر عنا سيئاتنا وتوفنا مع الأبرار اللهم أعز الإسلام والمسلمين اللهم انصر الإسلام والمسلمين اللهم انصر دين محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم. Wallah, today we try to understand the riba market and the mortgage market, and the riba and how safe we can go through it. Wallah, keep us safe from getting into such things which you don't like. Wallah, choose us, makes our heart soft to work for your deen. Choose us to work for your deen, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Oh Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, those brothers who are in debt, make it easy for them so that they can get out as soon as possible. Oh Allah, those who have potential to work for your deen, make their hearts come towards deen and work for it. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, today is the day when mosque attack, Quebec mosque attack occurred. And oh Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, those who died, give them the level of shahada, and those who their families, give them sabr. Allahumma ameen. ربنا فاغفر لنا ذنوبنا وكفر عنا سيئاتنا وتوفنا مع الأبرار وصلى الله تعالى على خير خلقه محمد وآله وأصحابه أجمعين برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. جزاكم الله خير. Thank you for joining. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Ji wa alaikum assalam. This concludes the session. So inshallah, any further question you guys have, feel free to reach out to us. The website is there, and please don't forget to provide your feedback. Jazakallahu khairan. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.